This is Pace the Nation.
When you climb up that hill, well, eventually you'll come down. If the wind's at your back, you never wear a frown. You're waiting on that second wind to begin to kick in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Pace the Nation, broadcasting back here at Studio 1A in downtown Arlington, Virginia, in the heart of all things, Clarendon. Clarendon on a beautiful March Wednesday afternoon. I'm your host, Chris Farley. We are back again for episode 267. And alongside me, of course, across the county, it's my co-host, Julie Culley. Julie, what's up?
Hey, Chris. Here we
How's it
are.
going?
We're back.
We're back. We're back, and you are still there. I feel like I've threatened and promised that you're going to be in studio sooner than later, and it just hasn't happened.
No, I'm comfortable, but thank you for asking.
You know, we could pull back the curtain before we get into this show here today. An exciting show, a big show to get to. You're just so busy. You're so busy that literally nobody is busier than you. And so it's hard for you to, get over to the studio, much less anything else, much less get the podcast in at all. So
Yeah. Well, I pride myself on being the busiest person alive.
you do.
So you should be very thankful that I have time in my busy schedule
I
to
am.
be able to record this podcast with you.
I am very much honored, and I appreciate it.
I will give you a list of all the gift cards that I want for this episode.
Well, you are busy, and you give us content because of your busy schedule. Gives us content, and I wanted to start off there with what you were doing this past weekend. You were at U.S. Indoor Track Nationals,
Mhm.
which was in I can't keep track. Spokane, Washington.
Spokane, Washington.
Wow. Okay. So Spokane, is that close to Seattle? Where is that kind of geographically here?
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed that you knew that it was in the same state. So
Yeah.
it's in Washington State.
Yep.
It's about 4.5 hours east of Seattle. So you have to go through a pretty big pass to get out there. So the Snoqualmie Pass. So
Mhm.
this time of year it can be actually pretty tough to get east by car. So, and certainly after the championships this weekend, there was a big snowstorm that was happening in the pass, and it was raining everywhere else, but they got a lot of snow up there. So when people were driving back to Seattle, they had some
It
weather
got
to
hairy.
negotiate. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
for those listeners, this was an indoor track race, and it was the national championships, which determined the USA team for Worlds,
Mm-hmm.
the team that would go to Serbia. Is that correct?
Serbia, correct. Yep.
Yeah. And how'd it go? How did the Brooks team do? And what are your big takeaways from the meet?
Yeah. My big takeaway is if you have land, you can build a really big, phenomenal stadium. And actually, what's so cool about where they built it, it's almost in this it's not a warehouse area district, but there is, yeah. My guess is that they probably knocked a warehouse down or something along those lines to build it. But it's across the street from the river that passes through there, a huge hotel that was able to host all of the athletes and media and officials. So, I mean, it's not the easiest place to get to, Spokane, because you really have to go through a major city to get there. But the setup once you were there, it's a great town. Gonzaga University is there. So
Okay.
for someone who'd never been there before, it was a really neat town to explore. A lot of history there. So
I'm
phenomenal.
so tempted to make a comparison to the Washington Commanders Stadium that's going to be way out of
Who?
nowhere
Who?
close.
Who?
The football team I always talk about.
Oh,
That's
okay.
going to be nowhere close. And it's got a lot of land where they're talking about where their stadium is. But
Yeah, but that just
let's stay
doesn't
on track. Let's
yeah,
stay
it
on
just
track.
doesn't resonate when you're that far, though.
Let's
We
stay
know
on
that.
track.
We know that.
So
We're gonna have
Spokane.
Chris, the other Chris, jumping in here in a
I know,
second
and then we'll
to
do our
talk
own
about it
show
too, and
about
then you guys
yeah.
will start talking about Washington football, and I'll be out.
Right.
So
All right, but let's stay on
switch
track here.
gears. Okay.
So the indoor meet national championship happened. Beautiful facility in Spokane,
Yeah.
and you determined the team that went to Serbia.
That goes to Serbia.
It goes to Serbia,
Unless you're
yep.
planning on posting this show in like 3.5 weeks. So
Right, correct.
yeah, no, it was phenomenal. So we had a couple of beasts that competed. Our athletes competed really, really well. We have a new signee that we just signed 2 months ago, who came over to us from Nike. So now he's now on the Brooks Beast, Isaiah Harris, and he made his first World Indoor Championship
Way to
team
go,
and finished
Isaiah.
second.
I know he's listening. Nice
Yes,
work,
yeah,
Isaiah.
yeah.
Psyched for you.
So it was really cool to see that happen. Henry Nguyen, who is a local Virginia, Charlottesville boy.
Proud
Uh,
UVA, Wahoo Wow, Henry.
yeah, he finished third, which was a
Mhm.
really awesome performance for him. And actually, the guy who finished first decided not to go to Worlds. But unfortunately, Henry didn't have the standards, so they're going a little further back on the list. So he's bummed not to go race, but he had a phenomenal performance there. So it was a big weekend for the Beasts. We had another group of athletes in Boston, and
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Josh Kerr,
Right.
our now UK, United Kingdom, British national record holder
In the mile.
in the mile and the 1500. He hit
Wow.
both records in the same race, same attempt.
Wow.
And he was so confident that he even wrote in Sharpie on his spikes the night before, he pushed it out into the universe, into the atmosphere. British record holder.
Yeah,
So
it's
when
a
he
pretty cool
actually
picture.
did it, when he actually did it, he actually grabbed that same Sharpie and he wrote ×2 as he was standing
Hey,
out on the
Chris,
track.
can you? I'm gonna send you a picture, Chris. Can you cut in a picture of that? I'd love to see that on the
It was
YouTube
awesome.
stream.
It
Yeah,
was
very
awesome.
cool.
So big weekend. We had a lot of PRs all across the board. Those were just a couple of the highlights. One of our women, she's Portuguese, and she won the Portuguese national championship. So yeah, it was awesome. So Worlds is in a couple weeks. With what's happening in the world right now, we're not exactly sure what's going to go on.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's quite an honor just to be nominated and I should say named to the team, earn your spot in the team. So hoping for those athletes that they'll be able to get there.
And the Pace the Nation fans always love updates on former guests of the show.
Okay.
And
Do
got
you
to
have a
mention that
list?
Gisette Norris made the team. She was recently, probably about 5-6 months ago on the show. Didn't make the Olympic team, but she made her first U.S. team. So I know you're really excited to see
Yeah.
that happen for her.
Yeah, that was awesome. Got to
So-
spend some time with her and her fiance, Robbie
Yep.
Andrews, afterwards. So it was a lot of fun.
So you're back. I'm glad you're back. While you were
good.
gone,
Thanks. Yeah.
while you were gone, I had the kids, by myself for 3 days.
Let's go
Yes, I
superhero.
did.
Tell
Yep,
us about
yep.
tell us about it.
Well, here's the deal. We've got a nanny who was there, who was very, very helpful in this one aspect, so I could get my run in. Very important for me to be able to have that block of time.
No worry about the kids. Like, how are we going to feed them?
Yes.
What are we going to do each
So
day?
you're in Spokane. I got to
Still
make
wake
sure.
up in the morning and say,
Yes,
I have to figure out
Andrea, can you watch the kids
how to get
during
my
this
run
block
in.
of time so I
Yeah.
can run? So I will say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, got to run in every single day. I think 8 miles each time. Well, 6
Yeah.
miles on Saturday. That was a tougher day.
Yeah.
But
And then you
yeah,
patted yourself on the back and you
I did.
you
I
did
did.
a you did a
I did.
video for all your social
I
media
did.
followers and
Yep. Follow
basically
me.
called them out and said, if you're not as crafty as I am,
Yep.
you lose.
Yeah. Well,
You
follow me at
lose.
Run Pacer. You can see all that beautiful content.
Yeah.
I just so I got my 3 runs in, but I do want to say the kids ate out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, which is not a surprise. Pizza on Friday. Hey, they love when you go away because the food is
Oh
just
yeah, for
right
sure.
up their alley.
For
Saturday, we had one of our favorite Mexican Tex-Mex restaurants, El Paso. We had Saturday El Paso, and Sunday. I can't remember. I'm sure I overpaid for some sort of.
No, you're at your mom's house.
I went to my
Yeah.
mom's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then when I wake up, let's see. So Monday morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. West Coast time, which is
Mhm.
obviously 6 a.m. out here.
Yep.
3 a.m. for a 6 a.m. flight
Mhm.
so that I could travel home all day,
Yes.
arrive at 5:30
Yeah.
and started making dinner.
And then you cook dinner. Yeah. First home cooked
Because I
meal in
knew,
4
I
days.
knew. I didn't even ask. I just knew. My children
Yeah.
probably their stomachs are messed up and
Correct.
they're not going to the bathroom properly. And
Correct.
like that those are things that I worry about.
TMI.
And you're like,
TMI.
I just need them to survive.
Right.
Uber Eats, let's go.
All right. Well, mostly there's some you're fabricating a little bit there, but mostly accurate. All right. So really excited about today's guest. He is a Pacers ambassador. We've got a newly formed Pacers Ambassadors Club that Brandt Ricca is a part of, and he is a runner who did 100 miles in October to raise funds for LGBTQ organizations that were struggling through COVID. So businesses that were led by LGBTQ members, and he raised thousands of dollars. Also ran 100 miles all through DC, starting from Navy Yard, ending in Navy Yard. So he is a Pacers ambassador, and he's got a great story to tell. So next up, Brandt Ricca joins us here on Pace the Nation.
Pace the Nation is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
All right, welcome back to the program. And now, Julie, we are excited to be joined on the other side of town here in DC. It's Brandt Ricca. He joins us on Pace the Nation. Brandt, how are you?
Doing great. How are y'all?
We are doing fantastic. Great to
Wait,
have you
first
on
and
the show.
foremost, did we pronounce your name properly?
Yes.
Okay.
I was shocked.
Always,
Brandt-
yeah, always want to make sure.
So yeah, we definitely now, yeah, Brandt. So his day, he's a runner, but Brandt's day job is all about kind of marketing and branding. So we want to make sure that we do pronounce your name correctly. So it's Brandt Ricca. Yeah. What is your company? Let's start there.
Yeah. So my company is a branding agency in DC.
Mhm.
Nora Lee by Brandt Ricca, and Nora Lee was my grandmother.
Oh,
Got
that's
it.
So
Okay.
awesome.
That's the connection. Okay.
yeah, I get that all the time. I think my first year, a lot of people thought I was Nora Lee's intern. But, so that's when I changed the name to rather than just Nora Lee to Nora Lee by Brandt Ricca.
Love it.
uh,
Awesome.
Yeah,
Love
she's
it.
my grandmother from Louisiana, president of the Jambalaya Festival Association. Jimmy
Oh
Carter
my
actually had her up
gosh.
here on the White House lawn in 1980,
Oh
and
my gosh.
but she died at 50 of that same year, so I never met her or anything.
Okay.
But
Wow.
she was also a business owner as well. So
Dude, great tribute, man. And let's we're going
Yeah,
to talk
that's so
about your
cool.
running. We're going to talk about your business, but you mentioned Louisiana born is Brandt
yes,
is, and just came back from Mardi Gras. So as we record here, March 2nd, Mardi Gras is happened, and you were there a week. You look pretty good for being a week in New Orleans.
well, thank you. When I saw myself on the screen, I was like,
Well,
ah.
we feel the same way about ourselves.
About
So
ourselves. You look
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I also just got in a run before this as well, so I feel like I was like sweating everything out.
No, but that makes your
Um,
cheeks rosy. Like that's
Yeah,
what I always
good.
say. There's a
It
little like
pops.
glow that happens right when you come in from your run.
I'll
well,
have to say, like, out of our Zoom interview, he's got the best background and the best setup. So if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, check it out on YouTube. It looks
this is
wonderful.
my condo. So,
Nice.
I
yeah.
love it. I
Love
love
it.
it.
All
I
right.
live in old horse stables. So
Very
Oh,
cool.
cool. That's
yeah,
really neat.
Just back from Mardi Gras, right? So
right.
Mardi Gras is something that's always been part of your life, something you always do.
Yeah, typically it's something my family does in terms of like, king cakes every year. There's some sort of
Yep.
celebration involved. But this year I had some work stuff in New Orleans around the same time, as well as my 35th birthday. So
Oh,
we
happy
went there.
birthday.
Thank you. Sorry, my voice might be a little hoarse, but I actually saw my friend at the gym before this as well, and he's the same age as I am, and we were like, "Did we think we were on spring break or something?" Like,
Yes,
a,
yes,
a lot
yeah.
of behavior happened that you would thought we were 24, but
Well,
it
dude,
That's
was,
the whole
just
po
do
that's I
it.
mean, that's what Mardi Gras is,
Wait till
right?
you're,
I
as
mean
I told you yesterday, wait till you're 45 like I am. And yeah, so enjoy it while you can. Well, you are a runner and big into fitness,
yeah.
in addition to having your own branding agency. And you ran 100 miles and raised a lot of money. So tell us kind of how this came to be or how this idea started.
Yeah, so I have always kind of pushed myself fitness wise in terms of kind of trying to master something and then moving on from that to the next thing. Uh, I do that in my professional career as well. Everyone always thinks I'm crazy. My job, I feel like I want to like accomplish like a goal professionally, and then I'm like, all right, how do I one up myself from that? So I
Mhm.
carry that over to fitness as well. So I'd work with the coach all through COVID, trying to do things like gymnastics rings, double unders, and then double unders with weighted jump rope, stuff like
Wow.
that.
My
And
gosh.
so then I was like, all right, what's the next thing from here? And am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Sure, do it. Go fire
Okay.
away.
Chelsea Handler and I have the same birthday, and I'm always like, I feel like we're like spirit animals. But so I was, talking to a colleague, and I was like, I think I'm gonna run 100 miles, but maybe in like over 2 weeks or something. And she goes,
Yeah.
"That's really fucking stupid." And I was like, "Oh." She goes,
Thank you. Thank
she
you.
was, she
Yeah.
was like, she was like, "I wouldn't even donate to that. It's so stupid." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She goes, um, she was like, "You would be achieving that so easily, because you're already like doing so much with fitness or whatnot." So
Okay,
she
I
was,
see her point. Yeah.
yeah. So she was like, 100 miles in 2 days, I would donate to that. And it's one of those things that like I'm crazy that the second someone plants an idea in my head, it's like I
Mhm.
can't shake it.
Mhm.
And so I then started researching it, and then I saw the ultra marathoners, and I read an article how someone actually didn't even really train for it. He kind of just did it randomly, and
Oh my
he
gosh.
admittedly described it as the most brutal experience of his life, but he still finished it. So then I started researching trainers and things like that, and then I was like, all right, 100 miles in 48 hours, I will do that. So that's how this all was born in January of 2021, and I spent starting February 1st, I trained all the way up until October the 7th, which is when I ran the 100 miles.
So tell us about you were inspired to help other businesses. I mean, you were obviously impacted by COVID and
Right.
inspired to help other businesses that were as well.
Right. I like we touched on yesterday like many small businesses like I lost all my clients I think within the span of 5 days.
Mm.
Oh my
Um
gosh.
and at first I wasn't too scared about it cuz I think 'cause in my head I'm like we're all in the same boat, scared
Right.
shitless. And like
Yeah.
and the government's just giving us PPPs. Like
Right.
I'm not too stressed out about it, and then I got some new clients, and then, come October 2020, we're all like, "Wait, this is still going
Right.
on." Because we were all like, reducing our pricing during COVID, like
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z, and it just became I then, like many other people were applying for the, economic disaster loan for the SBA. That
Mhm.
was I told, Chris yesterday, like, they have access to my firstborn child. Like, it was like
Yeah.
Yeah.
every
Everything.
every hoop that was imaginable, like, they put me through
Dude,
it.
it was a full-time job having to
Yeah.
fortunately, we had enough staff to be able to do it. Like Kathy took the lead on it and it was her full-time job for
Mhm.
months.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was months, and then it was like they wanted personal assets and, like, all this other stuff, and I was, like, hearing of other businesses who got it so quickly, and I was like, "What is going on here?"
Not us.
Yeah, and, so I was kind of like, with Nora Lee, I've always done something that was, towards a community advocacy arena or nonprofit. So I'd already done a few things like, historical venues in DC, cancer related charities, the National Mall. And so I was like, what's the next thing? And I was like, what's going on right now that's relevant, which was COVID.
Mhm.
So it was open up to LGBTQ business owned businesses that were needing access to relief funds who weren't able to get it. Like, like I was one who took months, but I know other people in the community who were like entertainers or things like that who didn't have LLCs, but were
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
not able to get anything.
Right.
So that was my main target with that, and I made sure that we had a whole committee set up to like vet these applications, and we had like 40 applicants from all over the country, and to make sure it really was going to those who, like I was doing, we were researching social media of theirs, like to be like, are they like, and if I saw someone had posted only like 2 posts within 2 years, I'm like, okay, they're not trying for their
Right.
business,
Right.
like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So things of like I saw people that were trying for their business also like doing things in their community.
Yeah.
And I think the big answer on the applications was like, what do you plan to use the funds for? And when I saw some people with the answers, like I think one person said to pay for my assistant who stayed with me during COVID. And I was like, what? And I was like,
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, that was your choice. We all let go
Right.
staff who like
Right.
to do stuff ourselves or things
Right.
like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I really wanted it targeted to the people who actually needed it, who a couple $1,000s is like a lot of
A
money.
big deal.
Because yeah, so because it is a big deal, especially in this day and age to people who've lost so much.
Mm.
So you decide to do this. You decide to raise funds, and you raised a lot of money for these businesses, which is amazing. But you're not like a you're a fit guy, but not like a long distance runner, right?
Right. Like I mainly like the lifting, like I think the most I'd ever ran before this was 10 miles for a Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
And like aside from that, I run regularly in DC, but the most I would run would be 6 miles at one
Okay. So
time.
how did you train for this event? And the event was in October, right?
Right. It was in October. Pacers was a sponsor of
Mhm.
it. We had Tommy, design the route, and it was like very specific. We did DC, Maryland, Virginia. So my training was broken up into 2 parts because it was 8 months. So the first 4 months I was with um, a great trainer, Brian Mazza, who ran 50 miles at once. He's been on the cover of Men's Health. He's based out of New York.
Mm.
But the training was, I mean, because everyone's body is differently, so the training that worked for him wasn't working for me. Like my knees weren't able to, run, 7 miles every day
Mhm.
or
Right.
like run
Right.
10 miles every day or what have you. So then after 4 months, I think we all reevaluate when we're training for something what's going to work for us because we don't want to run our bodies to the ground or get injured. So then I was connected with someone, Brandon Pedalin, who's DC based, and
Mhm.
he's a patent attorney, but he um, is really crazy with fitness and running. Like he has run probably, I think, 11 ultra marathons.
Mm.
Wow.
And he also at Balance Gym a few years ago ran on the True Form treadmill for 24 hours straight.
Mm,
The true
Like,
form is the one that you move.
yeah.
Oh, that
that
is
is really so.
horrible.
Yeah. So he did that. So he was someone who like has from his own learning experience had everything down to a science on the
Mhm.
training. So when I spoke to him, we had like a meet cute over the phone and it was like he was like, no, he's like it's not that crazy. It's not gonna run your life. Like you should still
Yeah.
have a life while you're doing this.
Yeah.
He's like, it could be fun. Let's drink a beer at mile 50. Like let's like have whatever. Um so after getting off the phone with him, like it seemed more like
Do
feasible and doable.
doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so daunting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the most I ran with under Brandon's training at one time was I think 20 miles.
Okay.
And that was like once. And that was
Wow.
it.
Wow. Did you
Um
just have to cluster it together so that your body got used to, like, I'm curious about how they would, kind of
s-
space things out.
so the training was CrossFit modified endurance training.
Okay.
So it was basically like murdering my mentality so that by the time the 100-mile got here, it seemed like, oh, I'm just running. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
so like some days, like, it was run 20 miles, like, and just finish it. Like, and the
Mm-hmm.
other days it was run 6 miles, but all out, like as
Mhm.
fast
Mm.
as you can. And then one day it was like run 5 miles in the morning, run 5 miles in the afternoon, and then run 5 miles in the evening. And each set
Mm.
had to be faster than the previous.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's
So
really interesting.
it was really broken up. It was constantly shocking your body. I joked with him because I would get my training every Sunday, and it literally was broken out every single day. like I never did the same workout twice.
Mm.
And I told him, I was like, when I see your training, I'm like, oh, that looks so easy. And then when I'm doing it, I'm like dying.
Not.
Yeah.
Like, and I like, one of the trainings was like be on the row machine for 1 minute, stand up, do kettlebell swings for 1 minute, alternate nonstop for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Wow.
That's really hard,
But
actually.
when I
it
see
But that's
that
no
on the
running.
paper,
Yeah.
when I see on the paper, oh, just 30 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and but then like when you're doing it, like I told you yesterday, Chris, my fingers were like stuck like this
Right.
from gripping the whole
Kettlebell.
time.
Right.
I thought I had like
Wow.
rheumatoid arthritis.
It's just really interesting that is
Stuck.
okay. I got to change my mentality. I just run every single day. You did this, and that wasn't necessarily running there. So
Right,
that's
and
awesome.
it was, and because he was saying, like, he was like, there's no point, which it makes sense after he said this. He was like, there's no point in running, say, for example, 70 miles for your training. He goes, if you do that, you might as well just fucking finish it and go
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
miles.
100%.
He
100%.
was like, he was like, that makes zero sense. And I was like, I never thought about it like that.
That's pretty good.
And he was like, make it fun, like have friends jump in with you at times, like,
Yeah.
and so I could not have done it without him because he drove his car. He was up the full 31 hours with me.
Wow.
And so he drove around to each like pit stop in his car. He'd be waiting for me. So when I get there was like a camping chair waiting for me. He'd be like, sit
Oh my
down, eat
gosh.
this, drink this. At one stop, he had a Slurpee for me.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. That's
because
so cool.
he was like, the sugar is great for you right now,
Yeah.
like stuff
Yeah.
like that. At the 50-mile mark, I had a McDonald's hamburger, and he made me chug a beer, and I was like, I don't
Wow.
want to, blah. And he was like, do it. And so I chugged the beer, and then after, like, 'cause my body was processing it so quickly, I had a really big buzz, and during the buzz, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. What am I complaining about? And then like,
I
but
got this.
right, but then because my body processed it so quickly after about 5 minutes of a buzz, then my legs became stiff. I was like, never mind, I'm dying again.
Yeah.
Right.
But you got a
So
little
you-
burst of hope in there.
Yeah, a little burst of hope, and but I like I told Chris yesterday, I tried to quit actually 4 times.
Right.
Because in my head going into it, I thought Brandon was gonna let me like sleep if I needed to. Because
Mm.
ultra marathoners, they do sleep when they're
Okay.
doing an organized race, even if it was for 5 minutes. And at around midnight, I ran through the trail, like through Bethesda, and I was like, "Can I please like sleep just for like 5 minutes?" And that's when he was like being the brotherly tough love, and he was like, "No." He was like, "Because you will never get up."
Yeah.
And so then I was like shivering. It was like midnight. So I changed my clothes like 3 times.
Mm.
I changed my shoes twice and my socks twice.
Mm.
But I didn't
Wow.
have any blisters on my feet at all. And he was like, there's only 2 reasons to quit an ultra. And he was like, that's because you have blisters or because you have nutrition issues. And he's like,
Yeah.
and you're having neither. And I was like,
Yeah.
So you got-
ugh,
Yeah.
I feel
Like,
sick.
wait, I think I feel a
sick.
blister coming on. Quick, somebody stick a
so-
rock in my shoe.
I know.
31 hours. Impressive, man. 31
Yeah.
hours. So that's
Wow.
under 20 minutes a mile. So really incredible. And it started and finished at Pacers in which the 14th Street
Oh,
store?
so I'm in front of 14th Street, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was like a crowd there. There were reporters there when I finished.
Oh.
But I felt bad because like Bree and all them like set up this whole like party, and when I got there, I was like not mentally able to do it. And I said Bree, I was like, I'm so sorry, but I need to get the fuck out of here.
You got to go to
Like,
sleep. Are you
You
kidding?
guys go celebrate me. Yeah.
I was
Take
like-
some great pictures.
like-
I can't wait to see them.
I was like,
Yeah.
I will slit all your throats if any of you talk to me for 5 minutes. I gotta go.
So
There
you
was-
so you raised a lot of how much money did you raise for these
it was about
businesses?
close to 17,000.
That's awesome,
Aw,
man.
that's so
So
cool.
we split it up between 5 winners that we just selected, and yeah, so I partnered to take this to the next level. I partnered with a gay business owner in Silver Lake in California
Mm.
who owns a gym, and I partnered with a fitness Barry's boot camp / fitness instructor in New York City. So the same day I did my 100-mile run, Seth biked 100 miles,
Mhm.
and Austin taught a 100-minute boot camp class.
Mhm.
And so we were so we were marketing together, doing reels together to kind of and posting the link together. So it was opening it up to a broader audience.
There's
I
your
need to
marketing
do,
mind.
I seriously, I
Yeah.
need to do a race with this guy because
Yeah.
I'm trying to do runs and doing some selfie. Like I need to do runs with this guy. He's going to get
Oh,
me
that's
out there.
cute. No, I'm kidding.
So Brandt also,
Brandt's like, I work with bigger clients than you,
Yes.
Chris. Sorry.
so he's got this branding agency. But I wanted to talk to you about, you're an author as well, which is super cool. You write
Yeah.
kids books. You've done 2 kids
Yes.
books. You're author of the Barris books.
The Barris
Uh,
books, right? So
The Barris books. Tell us a little bit about those because we've got 3 kids. I don't think they're old enough for your books yet, but we're always looking for different options to read them.
Yeah, it's a Barris book. So I started that about 5 years ago, but I let it go. I let it fall to the wayside because I started a business at the same time, and I was like, my business is making me money, so
Yeah.
that's what I went with. But during COVID, it was like one of those things where I was like, all right, let me just scratch this off my to-do list to get it out there. So last February, the same month I started my 100-mile training, I started the process of having a manager, the PR team, the lawyers, and
Mhm.
got got my colleague Matt, who's also my collaborator and illustrator on the book series. And so we spent the 6 months or 7, 8 months editing the first book. So 2 days before my 100-mile run, the first book was published.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
And so I was telling Chris that my phone was being bombarded during my 100-mile run, like during it, about the book or the run. And I'm like, do these people think I can actually fucking talk to them?
No, you could can't.
Oh my
No
God.
way.
My family group text is going, my mom is like, does anyone know where Brandt is? Like, I'm like,
It's only something I've been working on for 7 months, Mom. No big
well,
deal.
but she meant mile marker. But
Oh, yeah.
my mom was flying back from New Orleans. My mom texted me privately to be like, are you home? And I was like, I just landed. She then texts the family group text and be like, Brandt just landed. And I'm like, oh my God.
So I got a question, Brandt, about the book and the kind of the creative process. So I literally just went on a run this afternoon, and it took me probably 2.5 hours to do the run because I just got some stuff going in my mind and my creative juices. And so I'm calling people and I'm making things happen for our business. And I feel like the creative juices flow best for me when I'm running. Similar
Right.
experience?
Yeah, for sure. With the Barris books, they're fantasy. So, it's really, after J.K. Rowling, it's kind of like what what do you write
Yeah.
about? But I would say on the run was when I got a lot of ideas. Like, for example, I run to I told you, to every type of music there is.
Mhm.
And I was running to that Brooks and Dunn cover of Neon Moon. And
Mm.
as I was running to it, the lyric came on of a broken dream while I was running. I was like, oh my God, that's a plot twist for the book.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So stuff like that. So yeah, the books are called the Barris books, about a little boy named Barris Hart. And the reality is 1952 New Orleans, and his family moved to New Orleans from DC in 1952 because his mother, Francine Hart, discovered her ancestry was French. And the New Orleans in the 50s, it's very French affluent. So
Mhm.
she's kooky and takes French cooking classes, French speaking lessons. She calls their dog Oliver Olivier. And
Oh,
Barris
cool.
Barris has 3 sisters, like I have 3 sisters, and we all start with B's like we do. So it's Betsy, Betty, Barris, and Bernice.
Hmm.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so the beginning of the book with each book is Barris has a problem, and he's 9 years old. And then in chapter 3, he falls asleep into a dream world, which is really our psyche, because I dream what I'm stressed out about.
Mhm.
And in the dream world, there's magic and characters that relate to his problem. And he wakes up at the end of the book knowing how to navigate it, not solve it. But and in each dream world, he has a guide named Gracie, and she's a keeper of the universe, and her job is to monitor the dreams of sleeping children till they're 10. And she
Wow.
also narrates the book. So she's telling the reader the story from her firsthand experience.
So you can get this book
So
wherever
cool.
I mean, this is legit. Wherever the books are
Yeah,
sold.
wherever books are sold. Politics and Prose picked it up a few months
Wow.
ago. Busboys and Poets just picked it up. We'll be there soon. Bookstores in Miami just picked it up. Barnes and
Good.
Noble, Target, all that stuff. But our second book came out February 8th, and then I actually just finished the third book, which will be out in April.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so
Wow.
my illustrator always keeps laughing. He's like, "Can you please slow down?"
Slow
Slow
down a
down.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm a proud Arlingtonian, Arlington resident. and you're potentially getting into some Arlington schools or a
Oh,
school.
so we are in an Arlington school and at Claremont Immersion School.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they picked it up. So their fourth grade class just finished reading it for their February curriculum.
Wow.
And so we'll be going there with the second book for all of them in April.
That's
Oh my
awesome, man.
gosh.
Congrats on
So
that.
cool.
But we just closed out the Barris books. There's 3 in the Barris books. So now I'm writing the Bernice books, which is Barris's sister.
Got it.
And Bernice is like a super dark girl who reads Agatha Christie. It's like yeah, well, because I had that the kids' dreams, like, you know, after 10 years old, you start to lose your childish enthusiasm. So Gracie, his keeper, is no longer with him. It's because he's
Mm,
crossed over. So now it's Bernice, who's 9 years old now. And
mm.
so Bernice is visiting Auntie to Flinda and Serafina in New York City in 1954, and yeah, her dream world. So, but yeah, it's fun.
That's
They're fun to
really
write.
cool.
So
That's really
check him
cool.
out. Instagram, of course, he does a awesome job on Instagram. It's at Barris Books, and
Yep.
Brandt is at Brandt Ricca. So give him a follow. I know we got a lot of parents who listen to this podcast. One other thing I wanted to get into before we let you go, Brandt, I didn't mention this to you yesterday, but you know, I don't know where you were. You probably lived in the New Orleans area during Hurricane Katrina, and Hurricane Katrina changed the trajectory of the Pacers runnings events lives. We put on a race for Hurricane Katrina. I believe that was like 2005, maybe somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
2005. Yeah.
2005. And, you know, the way the community here in Alexandria, it was an Alexandria race, responded, and all the runners together. We had 5,000 people at the race and donated $125,000 to hurricane relief
Oh wow.
and through the Red Cross in New Orleans and that area. We had the race, the Gulf Coast relief run for a number of years afterwards. And James Carville was a huge proponent of it. And he was kind of like the person who helped us push everything through. But the Gulf Coast Relief Run and Hurricane Katrina is the reason why we have Pacers events, and all the races we put on. That's where we started. Where were you? How old were you? Hurricane Katrina.
I was 10. No, I'm kidding. I just had graduated high school actually, 2005.
Okay.
So I actually was in Louisiana with my parents visiting our family.
Mm.
And we always drove from Virginia to Louisiana. So we had debated on staying because when you're from Louisiana, you think it's no big deal, like a hurricane.
Sure. You're like, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad, though, and we had my 2 sisters, 2 of my sisters with us, and my mom and my dad. My dad was like, "No, I really want to drive up the Gulf Coast and like see everything, and let's just get out of Dodge before it hits." So we left New Orleans area like 2 days before, and actually drove through Biloxi Beach, the whole Gulf Coast, everything, and all of that was gone like a day
Wow.
later. Yeah, so we actually got really lucky, I think, on our timing.
Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of because I lived there during Hurricane Andrew, which was like in the 90s, but that was like I think a bad hurricane prior to Katrina.
Mm.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you indulging me and let me tell that story. It just jarred as much as we talked about Louisiana. That was just a really impactful part of my life and plenty of people's lives, obviously in the Gulf Coast region. All right, Brandt. So you accomplished this 100-miler. You've written 2 books. You've got a wildly popular branding business. What's next for you?
Well, as I told you yesterday, I'm like because I'm psychotic.
On to the next goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's next?
Yeah.
I actually did a beer pong tournament years ago, and me and this girl won like every team that we played, and we always would say, "What's left? What's left after that?"
Yeah.
So I always use that
Nothing.
mentality.
Yeah.
What's left? We were killing everyone over here. But so I feel like it's like that's what I've always keep in my head when I'm like, "What's left?" But
Yes.
so another Pacers ambassador, Pablo Brown, who's a trainer at Vita, he actually ran my last 20 miles with me during the 100. He called me about 2 weeks ago, and we were going to come up with this crazy fitness endeavor, and I was like, let's do like body sled push for every dollar a race, something
Yeah.
crazy. And he was like, no, let's just run 100 miles. I'm like, I literally just did that. Like what? Like what?
Not creative enough. Try again.
So I was like, how would we make this different? And he was like, because this time we're going to start at the same time, but we're racing against each other. And he
Mm.
was like, so we're going to start at the same spot, go different 100-mile routes, and whoever finishes first, we're going to have one fund for donations, but 2 different charities. And the first one finished takes all the money.
Mhm.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
and we also are not allowed to have anyone run with us this round.
Ooh, no,
And
no
it,
support. Like, are you gonna have like your own like nutrition, all that stuff
we
on
have to
you?
we
Or
have to be completely self-sufficient.
wow.
Wow.
So, and and Pablo's like a brother to me, and we're treating this almost like WWE, like competitive. Oh yeah, like you're gonna stop,
Talk
I'm gonna kill
smack.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So his idea of his 100-mile run is to do the CNO trail like out and back.
Yeah.
And that was the last 35 miles of my run. And I was like, you should not do that. That's going to be the worst decision you can
Right.
make. And I
It
was like, you know
sounds
what?
like the best decision, but you can't run that motion
You
for
can't.
that many miles. You
Right.
get so
Uh,
sore. You need
Well,
like a variation
also,
of terrain.
well, aside from that, that was the part of you would think towards the end of your 100-mile run, you would get some sort of a wind and like, oh, I'm almost done. But I was on that thing for the last 35, and that was the most mentally hard part of
Yeah,
my
I think
run.
so. Yeah.
At mile 92, I actually couldn't even have pictured myself finishing it because that's
You
how
with
hard it
only 8
was.
miles left. Wow.
No
Mm.
8 miles left. The
Yeah.
only time I got wind in me was when, because it was so bad to where my coaches were like, let's just run a minute, walk a minute, run a
Mhm.
minute, walk a minute. And
Mhm.
every time I would start to run, I kept feeling like I was Forrest Gump when he ran with those braces on. I was like waddling. And I was like, so when I saw the top of the buildings in Georgetown, that's when I was like, oh my God, we're in civilization. Like I can do this. But so Pablo's gonna do that, and I was like, you know what, go ahead. I want you to mentally die out there because I
Right.
will
Yeah,
kill you.
you're like,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
So we'll be doing that in October. So our training kicks off May 1st,
Wow.
and my entire family was like, "You're so stupid," um,
Can't
but
get enough. Yeah.
I know. So after this, though, I think I'm definitely gonna be done for a little bit, until Pablo calls me again, and says,
All
"Let's
right.
do
Well,
200."
when he loses and
Yeah,
then he
he's gonna want a rematch.
re-challenges you. Yeah.
I, I know he'll have come up with some excuse of a cramp, or maybe
Right.
he'll have a blister. So yeah.
All
Gonna
right. Well,
try
I
to
look.
up the
Well,
ante.
we will keep our audience posted. That's October, so a few months down the road. That sounds awesome, man. Well, congrats on all the good that you did. Seriously, for all these businesses that were needy and helped them out through a difficult time. And congrats on your first 100. Hopefully, hopefully you can do another one, and maybe that way you can call it a day after 2.
Yeah, I'll definitely like take a nap after that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
yes.
All right, Brandt. Well, that was awesome. So thank you so much. It's Brandt Ricca. He is his branding agency is Nora Lee. He is a Pacers ambassador and just ran a 100-miler. And check out his Barris books. They're for third graders. Is that what you said? Third graders?
Starts at 4th grade, but I
Starts
know
at
a lot
fourth
of
grade.
people. Yeah, but I know a lot of
Okay.
people who are reading it to their 6-year-olds or 5-year-olds, and they appear to like it as well.
So,
So
so check all the stuff that Brandt's doing. Great stuff. Brandt, thanks so much for joining us.
you
Really
got it.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys. Thank you guys so
All
much.
right,
Really
there he
appreciate
goes.
it.
Brandt Ricca on Pace the Nation. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Pace the Nation is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
All right, welcome back to the program, and thanks again to Brandt Ricca for joining us today on Pace the Nation. He was awesome, and people like that who kind of have their own branding and sort of talk for a living or storytell for a living. They're always great guests. So great guests. So great job to Brandt.
I do think you could probably pick up on a skill or two that he was dropping there in terms of the goal setting piece. We talk a lot about the
Yeah.
8 miles that you run every single day.
Yeah.
We still have the sub 3-hour marathon going on,
Yes, we got to find our
whether
spot.
whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
But I do really appreciate when people cycle in and out of goals like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool to have something to work towards.
Yep.
I'm giving you a little hint, like, maybe.
That it doesn't have to be 8 miles every single day.
Yeah.
Hey, it was
Like
6
something you're
again, 6
actually working. Like,
miles
what are
on
we training
Sunday.
for right now? Like nothing. Training for life. I love running 8
Yeah, I'm
miles every
addicted
day.
to I'm addicted to running, and it was only 6 on Saturday, but
Oh, geez.
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
You know, you and I had a conversation about my running recently, and it was we had agreed that I was going to take Sundays off,
hmm
and I think I've kind of slid my way
Why don't you
back
tell
into
everybody how that's going?
I've slid my way back into trying to run on Sundays.
Yeah, your New
Uh,
Year's resolution was to have a day off. I
yeah.
created that New Year's resolution for you, and that's why it failed. Because no one else can create someone else's resolution for
So
them.
let me just pause for a second here. Most people take New Year's resolution is to run more.
Mm.
Your resolution for me is to take a day off running.
Yeah, I want you to run less.
Yes. It's kind of that's crazy.
Well,
You're like
just trying to
you're
help you find a little more balance, a
yeah,
little more
right.
sleep, a little bit
Yeah.
more energy for your
I mean, when
family,
Brandt did
a
say
little less obsessiveness,
when he said
a
that he was
little bit
doing
more goal orientation. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Like, if you got a goal, then
yeah,
yeah, let's get after it. If you're just jogging all the time,
yeah,
jogging being Mr. Arlington, like waving everybody in the neighborhood,
yeah.
you're
That's
really
what
just
I do.
using it to get out of the house. I know
I
you.
am. Well,
It's your time to get
it
away
is.
from me and the chaos that happens if you spend too much time inside. I get it.
Yeah, well, there's something maybe to do that. All right, well, let's change subjects here. I just want to bring up one last thing before we get out of here. Empower Run happening March 6th, and I want you to report back on that when you get back because you're going to Santa Barbara, traveling again. You report back on Empower Run. I'll report back on what the kids ate when you were gone. So that's starts March 6th, so you leave Sunday as we
Sunday.
record here March 2nd.
Mhm.
And we've had Burke and Kathy on to talk about Empower Run. Just an amazing women's event
Mhm.
for the industry, the running industry. You're freaking pumped, right?
I am. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit more pumped when I get there. It's like
Yeah.
really hard to
To
just
travel again.
get there.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's in Santa Barbara again. 2 years ago, we were in Santa Barbara literally as the world was starting to close. I
Mhm.
mean, we all got out there and then it was a little scary. It was that week. I remember
Yep.
there were certain Brooks didn't come. They had just been cut off of travel. Saucony didn't come. They had just been cut off of travel. We were in Santa Barbara, so Hoka's right there, so they were able to come. But when we got home was, I'll never forget sitting out there and talking to folks at Georgetown that were like, "Hey, we might be closed as of Monday." And it
Right.
just was like, "What?" That was a huge distraction for the event. Because I think people were not sure if they should just get on a plane right away. Like, no one had masks. It was just a weird time.
Yeah.
So it is so cool. Last year, Empower One was held virtually, and Burke and Kathy did a great job of trying to bring that type of energy and grouping people up, women up within the industry. But it will be an awesome celebration to have everyone back together. This event keeps growing. I think there's
Mhm.
110 or 115 women involved this year. So it should be a lot of fun. Couple cocktails or two,
Yeah.
couple glasses of wine. Uh, yeah, it's going to be a blast.
And
I'm really
it really
excited. A
does.
lot of work for those two. They do an
Yeah. And it
incredible
highlights
job.
how much this industry has changed
Mhm.
to being a women's focused, women's centric industry where it was just a bunch of dudes 20 years ago.
Oh, it still is. It still is. Like, let's
But
not.
it's
It didn't
changing.
just like change overnight, but
Yeah.
change is happening,
Yeah.
and we
And
see
things
a
like a
lot
power
of
run.
women starting to move up in the industry.
Yep.
We have a lot of work to do still,
Yeah.
but I think having this outlet, having this space to meet and network, and all things that women haven't typically done,
Yep.
over the course of their working history in the last 100 years or so, less than that. But I do think that this is a really neat opportunity for women to kind of come together. I mean, I met people from Brooks 3
Yep.
years ago when we
No, it was
started,
very
when this
helpful
had
in getting your
started.
job.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was a gateway for me
Yep.
into the industry and coming from the sport essentially. So
Mhm.
anyway, I'm starting
Yeah.
to pull a Chris Farley here. I'm starting to talk about myself and make it about me. So let me talk. Stop
Check
right
out,
there.
check out
Stop
episode.
right there. Cannot wait for the weekend. Super nervous about
Yeah.
what kind of food and
Yeah.
sustenance my children will be eating throughout the weekend.
But we'll cover
Probably
that. We'll
having
cover that. Yeah.
microwave popcorn for dinner and maybe some McDonald's along the way. No,
Uber
they
Eats
better
on
not.
speed
Yeah.
dial. Uber Eats will be on
Speed
speed dial.
dial.
But yeah,
I
you know
love
what?
it.
Check out episode 220 of Pace the Nation. Burke and Kathy talked all about Empower Run there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again to our guest, Brandt Ricca, for joining us today. He's a Pacers ambassador who raised a lot of money for some needy businesses. He was great today on Pace the Nation. All right. Thanks to our guy, Chris, killing it behind the scenes, flew forever to get here and put this thing together for us again. Thanks to you, the listener, and thanks to Julie. Great job today. We'll see you in studio next time, right? All right. That's Julie Culley. I'm
Right.
Chris Farley. This is Pace the Nation. We'll see you next time.